He never believed in second chances, especially not in love. The icy-hearted billionaire CEO, Adrian Cole, had erected walls taller than his skyscraper penthouse. To him, feelings were weaknesses, and romance was just another transaction. But one stormy evening, destiny forced him into a blind date he never asked for, and the man waiting across the table, an everyday single father, would silently rewrite the script of his existence forever. Adrian Cole was the kind of man tabloids loved to vilify: tech titan, cutthroat dealmaker, the executive who slashed jobs and tripled revenue without blinking. He lived in spreadsheets, not sentiment. Love, family, joy, those were dialects he'd never bothered to learn. His assistant had practically pleaded with him to unwind, to meet someone real for once. Against every instinct, he agreed to a charity matchmaking event's blind date, treating it like a publicity stunt. He expected boredom, maybe amusement. But when he stepped into that cozy little Italian bistro, the last sight he anticipated was a man in a simple button-down fidgeting with his phone while a small girl colored quietly in the booth beside him. The man glanced up, eyes wide. "You're Mr. Cole." Adrian's brow furrowed. "You brought your kid to a blind date." Pink flooded the man's cheeks. "I'm so sorry. The sitter cancelled last minute. I couldn't leave her home alone." His voice was gentle, almost apologetic, the opposite of every boardroom voice Adrian knew. "I'm Ethan. Ethan Hale." Adrian nearly walked out. This was not the evening he'd signed up for. But then the little girl looked up with enormous, wondering eyes and whispered, "Are you the prince who's going to make my daddy happy again?" The words landed like a hostile takeover of his chest. Saturday. Conversation started stiffly. Adrian fired off his usual questions: career, goals, 5-year plans. Ethan answered with quieter truths: his wife who'd passed too soon, the way he balanced greasy overalls and bedtime stories, how he taught his daughter that laughter was free even when money was tight. Adrian pretended to listen politely, but every small revelation slipped past his defenses. He noticed Ethan's calloused hands, strong yet tender when he slid a crayon back to his daughter. He noticed the way Ethan's whole face softened when he looked at her, as if she were the sun. When the check came, Adrian assumed that would be the end of it. Then the sky opened up. Ethan tried to shield his daughter with his worn jacket. Without a conscious decision, Adrian popped open his umbrella and stepped closer, covering them both. The little girl reached up and slipped her tiny hand into his free one. "You can share with us too," she said, utterly serious. For the first time in longer than he could remember, Adrian laughed, a real, startled sound that rattled him more than them. He couldn't get them out of his head. The next morning he was on the phone with the restaurant, asking for a number he had no business wanting. Coffee turned into dropping by the garage just to see. Soon the billionaire in bespoke suits was showing up at a dusty auto shop with sleeves rolled high, handing Ethan tools he didn't know the names of, fixing nothing except the cracks inside himself. Ethan never asked for a dime, a headline, or a favor. He only gave patience, honesty, and the quiet dare to be human. Lily, the little girl, started calling him Mr. Serious and giggling whenever he tried and failed to keep his usual scowl. Weeks became months. Adrian quietly rewrote company policies: better parental leave, actual vacations, anonymous donations to pediatric hospitals. He sat in folding chairs at a kindergarten play, clapping too loudly when a tiny fairy in purple wings spotted him and yelled, "See, Daddy? I told you he knows how to smile now." It wasn't seamless. When paparazzi finally sniffed out the relationship, the headlines screamed gold digger, opportunist, liability. The board issued ultimatums: end it or risk the stock price. Old Adrian would have cut losses before dessert. This time he called a press conference instead. Flashes popped like gunfire. He looked dead into the cameras and said, "I spent years investing in everything except what actually matters. This man and his daughter taught me that real wealth isn't measured in zeros. Love isn't a weakness, it's the only thing worth protecting." The room went still. Months later, on another rain-soaked night, Adrian walked back into that same little restaurant. Ethan and Lily waited at the corner table, the one with the wobbly leg. Adrian set a small velvet box down and took Ethan's hand. "I used to think my heart was a locked vault," he said quietly. You and Lily picked the lock without even trying. Lily squealed before Ethan could answer. Ethan's eyes filled. He managed one shaky word, yes. Adrian smiled, the rare, unguarded smile that once would have shocked Wall Street more than any merger. A promise, he told them both, that I'll keep showing up. Every single day. Outside, the rain kept falling, but inside those three hearts, something unbreakable had already taken root. The empire didn't fall. The world didn't stop turning. It simply made room for a billionaire who finally learned that some things can't be bought, only earned, one shared umbrella, one bedtime story, one genuine laugh at a time.